This is Radio 97, time to talk law with our resident lawyer, Despina Priala of boutique law firm Priala Legal in Runaway Bay. She's with us every Thursday morning. She brings her legal expertise by providing some general advice on the latest of hot topics. She has experience that spans more than 25 years, areas including property and commercial law. She also prepares wills as part of estate planning and litigation. Morning to you, Despina.
Good morning, Wayne. Good morning, Brooke.
Good morning, Desi. So this first story, the headline is quite interesting. You've probably read it a few times, but the one I like is a man, a retiree, and a wheelie bin. A very intense incident. It almost sounds quite funny when you read it at first, but it was almost violent, this incident that took place in Sovereign Islands on the Gold Coast, and it then ended up, intensifying, and it ended up in court. So can you just give us a recap? What happened on the GC?
Yes, well, very interesting. This has been I suppose, at its core, a neighbourhood dispute. Yeah. Two neighbours who live on Sovereign Islands. We won't name them, but of course, anyone who wants to look up the wheelie bin incident on Sovereign Islands, I'm sure they can find multiple stories that have been published and find out who we're talking about. So one of the people or persons that were involved was a real estate agent who's now retired on the Gold Coast, and her neighbour. And apparently they've had a neighbourhood dispute going on for 6 years to do with fences and all sorts of things. But this particular incident that we're going to talk about involved an assault from the male neighbour to the female neighbour. And it was quite interesting in the fact that, well, one, it was discovered on video. So Sovereign Islands has security video cameras set up throughout the islands, and this particular incident was captured on one of those videos. No audio, just video. And that was obviously played in court. Now, this has been taken to court, and there's an outcome from this. So why I wanted to mention it, well, firstly, I'm not a criminal lawyer. So this involved a crime. It was a charge of assault that the female person made against the male person, and it's been played out in court. So I'm not a criminal lawyer, and of course, if anybody was involved in anything like this, they'd have to get advice from a criminal lawyer. But I thought we would mention it because, yes, it did happen on the Gold Coast, happened at Sovereign Islands. I think everybody, or a lot of people, have heard about this incident, and they might be wondering why the person who was charged with assault actually was able to get off the charge. And
he got off because when you look at the video, and that's why I said quite violent. When you look at it, obviously there's no audio, so that's very important when it comes to this case, because just going off visuals, it does look fairly aggressive. The woman is quite small, the male is quite large, and he's shoving this wheelie bin into this woman. Again, you can watch it. We might even share it to our Facebook page if you want to take a look. But just to get a visual on it, it is quite surprising thinking that this man got away no charges.
Yes, so the incident very quickly was that apparently the male neighbour, he put his wheelie bin, so everybody brings their wheelie bins out the night before or the morning of the the wheelie bin day, and he put his bin right behind her Jaguar, and apparently it was on her side of the property, whereas really you should put your bins right outside your property, not someone else's driveway. Anyway, so that caused her to get very upset. She's come out and said, move your bin. And there was an incident that evolved where the video showed that he actually got the bin and pushed it into her. So there was a physical assault that occurred. Now, you can't hear what they're saying, which is actually interesting to what we're going to talk about, because in the court case showed that he defended the charge of assault, and he used a defence called the defence of provocation.
Okay, so suggesting that there's always two sides to a story, yeah?
Yes, and the defence of provocation is an interesting one, which we'll talk about. But as I said, yes, the video was only one part of the evidence that the court had to hear and listen to and watch, because there was no audio. So you couldn't hear what might have provoked him to do what he did, because clearly in the video you can see what he did. But as you say, there's more to it, because he was quote unquote provoked, and he used this defence of provocation to then get off the charge. So when we look at the defence of provocation, I haven't looked at this since, I think, uni days, because I don't practice criminal law. But I do remember reading the defence of provocation back then, and I've looked it up again now, and it's in the Criminal Code. Now, in Queensland, we've had the Criminal Code since 1899. So a very, very long time. And this defence of provocation, to my understanding, has always been there, or it's been there for a very long time. So when we look at the defence of provocation, it does say that a person's not criminally responsible for an assault committed upon a person who gives the person provocation for the assault. Okay. And then it goes into it a bit further to say, if the person is deprived by the provocation of the power of self-control, and it happens suddenly in the moment, and there's no time for the person's passion to cool.
Is that the wording? Passion to cool.
Yes. Yes.
Really?
Section 269. That's the actual wording that's used.
I love that.
It's interesting. And it goes on to say, also the force used is not disproportionate to the provocation, and it's not intended to cause death or grievous bodily harm. So there's a few things there that you've got to, I suppose, meet that threshold, and the test that's in there, or the wording, which is there's an assault. There's someone's lost the power of self-control. So not complete self-control, but there is a partial loss of self-control. They act on it in the moment. So it's suddenly in the moment. There's no time for the person's passion to cool, and it's got to be proportionate. So if this happened to this person, so if there was something that she might have said to him, he went back in the house, came back 20 minutes and then pushed her with the bin. Well, no,
that wouldn't fly. No, that wouldn't
fly. And you can see on this video, it all happened then and there in the moment. Very suddenly, he's lost his cool a little bit. He's been provoked by something she said, although we can't hear it, but it came out in the articles that she did provoke him by certain things that she said to him. And remembering, they've had an ongoing dispute generally as between them as neighbours for about 6 years about other issues.
Plenty of history,
Plenty of history and underlying facts and
anger.
So
building up.
So obviously this happened. He was able to, he got a criminal lawyer to defend the matter, and he did do that successfully. So very interesting indeed. But the other interesting aspect too is, I suppose, when can you use this defence of provocation? And it's not just about if you are attacked and then you
retaliate
in the moment. It's also if it happens to people that are in your immediate care. So say if you are out somewhere and you're out with your wife, your husband, your children, or your parents, so someone that's close to you, someone that's in your immediate care, someone that's with you at the time, and someone may have said something to them. Now, the defense can actually extend to you retaliating because of that particular provocation, not directed to you, but someone next to you.
The connection,
the connection. All I can think of is Will Smith right now slapping Chris Rock.
How would he stand in that?
I wonder how he'd go in the courthouse here. Oh God.
The different thing, because he was sitting down, he had time to think about it, and he actually got up and then walked on stage and retaliated.
The whole thing took 30 seconds or more from the initial point to where he got up and
exactly. And he had time to think about it, and obviously chose to do that act. Whereas if he was on stage in the moment, right
next to him,
maybe it would have been a different perhaps commentary or outcome. So I just thought, well, we want to talk about it, and not from the point of view of, well, let's go out and assault everybody because we have a defense of provocation. That's not the reason, but that is the reason why he actually was successful in getting off. And look, it's been a defense under the Criminal Code for some time. It's been used successfully here, and that's the reason why.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you so much, Despina Priala. And coming up next, we'll be talking about the Roe versus Wade case, and more specifically, I guess, the difference between American laws and Australian laws when it comes to abortion rights. Very interesting stuff coming up only on Radio 97.